Children. You can please take your seats. Thank you. Right, I think I'll start now. Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Those who are here physically and those who are on Zoom. Just want to say hello to everybody. We're going to take this opportunity to introduce the Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum way and see how the interior design community can come together and work with us and take the story forward. So today I think I'm going to be, there are three of us, the co-founder with me, Chika, she'll be taking on the talk, part of the talk, and then I've got Rowan An, who's going to be taking on, he's the head of e-commerce at Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum. So I think without further ado, let me jump on to the first or the second slide. So the agenda really is a brief introduction to Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum, our effort to weave craft, tech, and sustainability. The topic would be how can interior design community and us collaborate to bring this concept to life, and will you be a change maker? Go on, and if we do a brief video.
We are trying to disrupt the global handmade furniture industry. There was this gap where we could actually tell a new design language with Asian craftsmen coming out of Asia and compete with the luxury furniture market in Europe. At the same time, the pricing it's a 6-star product, but at a 3-star price. Hi, I'm Saurabh Mangla. I'm known as Sam. So Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum in Latin stands for himself, herself, and itself. It was really created to address the homogeneity which has actually taken on modern living today. The talent which exists in Singapore for design is really amazing, but probably it hasn't been applied in this genre which we are trying to build. That was the reason why we decided to collaborate with local designers. And of course, the other angle which was very important was we thought that Singapore could be the right crossroad for this new design language from Asia because of its mix of cultures and subcultures which exist there. So we actually went ahead and invested in the Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum Arts and Crafts Center in India, and where we are encouraging craftsmen to actually come from different parts of India and actually practice their craft there. We have 8 generations of craftsmen doing the bone inlay. Their forefathers were probably working with ivory. Now we actually collect the bone from the butchers, which was being thrown away, and actually get them to practice an age-old craft, which probably wouldn't have survived. Creating the facility in India has taken me almost 3 years. It's not been an easy journey. I did approach Enterprise Singapore to actually get some help on the ground, and they introduced us to Invest India, which actually helps foreign companies to go into India who want to actually make an investment and infrastructure there. Yeah, so we've actually had help from understanding what the landscape is, and at the same time, what is the potential of the furniture market in India. So all this market research, which I think was very difficult for us to acquire as a small company, actually came on our fingertips. At the same time, we were more interested.
This is the brief snippet, what we're trying to do. So I'm going to take this forward, and I'm going to talk about how Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum would empower you as an architect or an interior designer. Sorry. Right. So we're talking about, authenticity as a very important part of Ipsum's drive. And the authenticity really comes from the craft and the techniques, the heritage materials and the finishes, and the artisans and the designer product. How can you differentiate as an interior designer with your services beyond, the spatial design, what you're offering your clients is actually the customization and the individualization aspect of things. And this brings a unique flavor, to the offering from an interior designer's perspective. Why Ipsa Ipsum? We're going to try and address it, as in where did it come from? There's a complete transparency in terms of what we offer. So you exactly know what material it is, what's the origin of the material, how is it made, what's the craft, what's the techniques used to actually make it. The most interesting aspect is who's made it. So every product which you actually propose to your client or the client consumes, they know that it's being shaped by a certain individual. And in fact, it's been a very interesting journey where over this period, there's been COVID raging at the Arts and Crafts Center in India, while some of our customers have come back, who bought stuff last year saying, hey, I want to know is my artisan okay? Is he all right? So I think it's a very interesting way of building a relationship with your home and the people who are actually behind creating your home. We'll also talk about when was it created. So when you actually receive the final product from Ipsum, you get a QR code on the product. And that product actually tells you the entire journey the product has been through. So, it's kind of a stamp of authenticity in some ways. Now, talking a little bit now about the Arts and Crafts Center in India, we're actually in the foothills of the Himalayas, about 2 hours from the foothills of the Himalayas. The company was originally started by my grandfather when he retired from the army 40 years ago. Traditional business was making salvers and silverware, for the army mess. And those techniques have been applied now, probably in a new brand which we've built over. Explaining a little bit more, going deeper into it, it's a world-class facility in the middle of nowhere in India. We've also got a very interesting designer residence program at the Arts and Crafts Center. So when the world is slightly more open up, you can actually go in there and spend time as a designer, working with the artisans and creating your own unique pieces. I think now we talk a little bit more about the craft aspect. So I think if you, we have several techniques which we offer, from glass mouth blowing to leather upholstery, metalworking, and swordsmithing, believe it or not. We've done a chair with one of our designers who's here. This is actually made out of old swordsmithing techniques, blow lamp soldering, various metallic finishes, working with reclaimed timber, stitching. So how does the Ipsum journey look like when you actually confirm the order? You get a confirmation email, of course, that the order's gone through. The second thing is you actually get the craftsman. You meet the craftsman, who's been allocated to make your order, and you know about the craftsman. He comes up on your email, and you know about his story, about his family, about his aspirations, about taking his family further, and that quite strikes a chord with a lot of people who we worked with so far. Then you have an important aspect, where when you're getting something customized and it's thousands of miles away, you want to know what's the material which has been used. Is it the same material? Are the colors the same? Are the textures the same? So we actually send you images of the materials before they're going to be used or cut to make sure that, we're all on the same page. Fourth email actually talks about more, it digs deeper into the technique, which is being used to create the piece. So you kind of know that this piece is made this way, also educating you and your customer about the uniqueness of the process. The fifth email actually comes out as a complete preview. So you get a chance to actually see the final piece from various angles over email before it's dispatched from the Arts and Crafts Center. Now, as an interior designer, I think we all have had challenges in terms of people, a certain mismanagement of expectations when we customize a piece from overseas. You know, it didn't turn out quite the same. You know, we've had challenges, the consumer saying, you know, it's not. So we try and mitigate that by actually getting an approval before it leaves the Arts and Crafts Center. And this becomes interesting because if there's any changes, you know, there still could be done before it leaves. Then you get to know the details of the dispatch. You get to know that it's, you know, on which boat and when is it expected. So this is kind of a unique journey all the orders go through when you actually work with us. Happy to elaborate this further, you know, after this. Spoken to about the artisans and their techniques. I think this can be dug deeper. Unfortunately, we don't have every artisan listed on our site, but in our projects section, you get some of the prominent ones, some of them who've even been working with us for the last 40 years. Why this is important, I think, is that we're trying to encourage people from using techniques, you know, also getting stuff made which is really useful. So from a sustainable perspective, I think there was going to be more talks on that as we, you know, as we go along, you know, how we're trying to weave sustainability into it. But this is a good slide explaining, you know, where we are at, you know, with our concepts. I'm going to invite my co-founder to come in and take the talk further.
Thank you, Sam. Hi, everybody. So we'll talk a little bit about sustainability, and I guess that's a very hot topic or the buzzword. We question what could sustainability look like in the luxury furniture industry or in luxury furniture design, and this is our take on it. This is one of the collections we've recently launched. We call it the Biome Collection, and this slide just gives you a preview of what it could look like if we were to talk about the green aspect of sustainability, which is what most people think of sustainability as: climate change, greenery, low carbon footprint. But what else could it be is the question. Then we looked around, if we had to come up with a framework for luxury furniture or luxury design, what are the different things we could look at? And we listed down these few, and I'll take you through what it means for Ipsa to be part of this. Just a quick glance on what traditional manufacturing or retailing looks like. So the top half of the slide, you can see the network of various places where you would source the raw material. It will go into the processing of the raw material, goes into the furniture factories. Then a lot of it is stored into various warehouses globally, and it goes to the retailer and then to the end consumer. Versus for us, it's more a supply on demand, and it's a bit more streamlined. It does create the waiting period for the end consumer longer, but it does mean we streamline the full process from custom-made design, which is ordered, and how it is QC checked and it reaches the consumer. Just another way. We make small lots. If we have the same artisan working on a piece, we also use ERP to integrate those orders. We consolidate all the orders. They are optimized deliveries used, and that's how each person gets their custom piece. I'll dig a bit deeper into each aspect of the framework and what we do for it. So skilled artisans, I guess for every company, it could mean something different. For us, it means we're using the traditional craftsmanship and working with the network of artisans for our furniture pieces. Traditional craft could be another aspect. We are working to preserve the rich and the old techniques of crafts passed down by families. One of the challenges which Sam mentioned, we work with a lot of craftsmen And they came back to us and said that our kids don't want to continue with this craft or trade. They'd rather go and do a computer job or a desk job because woodworking or metalworking is not sexy enough. And that's another aspect we said, well, let's bring back traditional craft and make it interesting for the next generation in making and in consumption. The third aspect would be using natural materials or heritage materials. One of the design pieces which we had done with the Peranakan Museum was taking an old print from the museum, but we could have digitally printed it. Instead, we used bone inlay technique. And that's another way of interpreting design using heritage techniques or heritage materials or using natural materials here. So for instance, we try to use natural stones. They last longer. You actually get a sense of you have interesting materials in your space rather than plastic. Life cycle of the product design is another thing. When we think of a piece, we don't think of just the final product, but the whole journey the piece has taken. It goes beyond creating and selling just the item, but the experience of choosing the various materials, playing around with it, and then saying, this is what I want, figuring out the specifications, learning about the techniques which go into it. So if you look at the product design journey, instead of two people, designer and a product engineer working in a room, we've actually put it out there for people to experience the full design thinking. Sustainable use of packaging is very obvious. Every company can do it in its own way. We've tried to implement by having digital invoicing or using waste or offcuts within our design as well. So one of the pieces which we are launching today in the Biome collection actually has offcuts of the woods, and we've created a wood slab or a tabletop from that. Made for you is very obvious. If it is customized for your needs, for your space, I would imagine one is likely to use the piece longer or say, yes, I really like it. We want to pass it down through the generations. Sustainable use of logistics. I think something as simple as optimizing your delivery route, not just the sea freight or air freight, but also making sure that you've consolidated the orders and you're delivering it in one day, does reduce the carbon footprint for the brand. The next point is economic inclusivity. I guess some of you may agree or disagree, but an often said thing is luxury only comes from Europe, or luxury Asian craft is maybe should be cheaper, or handcrafted things should be more fair trade. And I think we're also trying to say that it should be available for everybody and it is available from every part of the world. So we break the mistaken belief that luxury design is only for a select few. I think it can be affordable and luxury doesn't have to be just expensive. The last few points would be about cultural appreciation. I think we have to be mindful if we're talking about sustainable luxury design, that it is not cultural appropriation. We're not trying to take just things of the minority culture and apply it to have something different. We want to overall appreciate the culture and the heritage which is available to us in today's day and age and design around those pieces. For me, one of the favorite points is time versus dollar. Is it just the rich materials we've used or where it's coming from, or the actual time it's taken to make the piece? And of course, our lead time usually is 3 to 4 months. By the time the piece is made, we consolidate the order. I think this also tells you you need to value the time it takes to make the piece. And that's true luxury. Creating ecosystems is another interesting one, I feel. For instance, in our Arts and Crafts Center, it's not just the artisans who are working with us, but the tea stall guy outside the facility who provides the tea, morning tea, afternoon tea for the guys. He is also relying on this trade. The transport guys, the auto rickshaws, the timber lorry guys, and that's another small ecosystem. This is in India. I guess the same is also true over here. So just creating those ecosystems, trying to work with the circular economy as much as possible could be another thing which sustainable design could be mindful of. I have a short video here. So we went ahead and also developed a new cloth, which is from using the techniques of khadi, which is the hand woven cloth. I'll just play this video to give you a sense of how we are bringing that into our sofa fabric. I'll pass on the mic to Rowan, who'll talk about how we can weave in technology.
Right, thanks, Ruchika. Hi, everybody. My name is Rowan. I'm in charge of the e-commerce here. And hi to everybody online. So I'm going to speak about how we're going to infuse tech in the handmade luxury furniture space. Yeah. So we actually did some QR code that we embedded into the furniture in our showroom. And also we have the customizer, which we have on our website. We also add some augmented reality, mobile enabled POS systems, and also our signature experience that Sam spoke about. Next is our customizer. So this is how the customizer is going to work. And then let me show you in video how it works in real life. So augmented reality itself, it brings a lot of game into this industry. So as an ID or as a customer, it allows you to have the option of actually viewing the product in your own house. You know, at this age where there's pandemic, right, you are a customer is not able to go down to the showroom, or the ID is not able to meet the customers one-on-one, right? Actually change the ballgame a lot. Then addressing the needs of the ID, we actually have 5 steps. We have the discovery, where customer engage with the brand. Then we have the exploration, where they use the augmented reality itself. Then after they make the purchase, we have the fulfillment. And lastly, we have the advocacy, where actually I'm going to share more. Next slide. So once the product is made in our warehouse and it gets delivered to the customer place, the current method itself is the customer has like only just a receipt. But in our case itself, we actually give them a QR code that is attached to the furniture. And with that, actually, all of you can pick up your phones. You can scan the QR code. And when you scan this QR code, it actually shows you the history of this product. So don't mind if you all can scan, you will understand. So okay. So once you scan this QR code, you will see that it actually shows you about the history and the state of the furniture being done. And then when you scroll to the middle, you can actually see the whole journey. So from the craftsman allocation to the work that's being done, and then the delivery process and the fulfillment process. So this is all being recorded in the furniture itself. Right? Moving forward, if you have any question, feel free to ask. Yeah, same goes for those on the Zoom. So next page, we have the different technologies that we use in our business. So the first area is the digital technology. We have this exploration and expansion stage for our company itself. So we partner with like companies like 49, Google, and also we have this AR core, which is actually the augmented reality. Next, we partner with this Chris Plus and for all these payment gateways. So we have highlighted this through the Kula and Ultimate, this the buy now, pay later kind of scheme, which is actually helping our business to grow even further. Lastly, our digital platform. Firstly, we sell most of our stuff through our website. So we have a web and back order, and we do in Lazada, Japan, Pay, Free Shop, Carousel. For this discovery phase, we also do a lot of social media engagement through Facebook and this Instagram. And lastly, we forgot to add here, but we actually work with Amazon to come out with a tour for Americans to actually experience this kind of showroom feel in Singapore. Okay. So now I'll pass the mic back to Sam for the Changemaker program.
Thank you, Ron. Right, so just introducing to you the Changemaker program and what it's really about. So we believe that the people who want to make a change in the way conventional interior design industry has been working, speccing furniture, I think you can onboard with us as change makers and try and disrupt this space with offering these very unique designs, which are actually created by you with using our foil as a service to your clients. These are some of the collaborations we've done. I'll talk about the Crazy Rich Asians movie. We had about 43 pieces in the movie. Before the movie was actually made, the production team approached us with the personas of all the actors, and we put together a mood board, and that's how the product was spec'd. We also were part of the Dempsey Cookhouse project with Paula Navone, Milanese-based architect, and a couple of other projects. We've also done a boutique hotel in Israel, in Rosh Pina. This is actually one of the new products we are introducing at the SIDFest exclusively, where we've taken all our materials and we are starting to create wall features for spaces. So we've got semi-precious stones, we've got inlays, we've got metal cladding techniques. You know, everything we've done so far, but mainly in furniture, we've kind of opened it up as a wall solution, a wall panel solution program. It could be a foyer wall or a TV console, you know, a wall for the console. And I'm happy to talk, or you can contact us further and we can explain how it works. So yeah, I mean, you know, the main things in the Changemaker program are that when you actually come on board with us, there is a minimum level of designer discount which you can avail, and we can also talk about your various projects and, you know, kind of have a more meaningful and a deeper engagement rather than just talk about a product here or a product there. That's really all. I think individualization is trending. I think there are a few points here, you know, about Changemaker. I think when you guys sign up, you know, you can go through it. That's all from my side, and thank you all for coming online as well as physically. Thank you. If anybody has any, yeah, thank you. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. Also on Zoom, maybe James, if there's anything. Yeah. Yes, Tulsi. What is your feedback? Well, you know, my personal opinion is that there's a lot of marketing glitz and glamour gone through the ages, of the brands from Europe and, or, maybe Japan, where everyone thinks, the high altar of design is minimalism. At Ipse, we are exactly the opposite. We celebrate the maximalist approach. So I think, at Ipse, Ipsa, Ipsum, we actually empower people to dig deeper into really what their customer's persona is. So, it doesn't matter whether the person is in urban contemporary space or wants to go for a coastal style or wants to go for a transition contemporary style. Actually, you can create all these styles with us. So I think just to be open-minded about really making techniques and also probably educating yourself with how the craft is really done, so you can appreciate it for its uniqueness. Yes, hi, I'm Manish. So we have about 250 craftsmen who are actually at the facility. And, they have a variety of skill sets. So we are kind of what you call a factory and factory concept, where you've got many lines doing a variety of skills. And that's very important for us because we realize that there is a very limited resource for designers when they want to work with mixed media. When they want to introduce something, there's always a limitation that this person can do this, but cannot do this. So what we try to do is actually have a foil of various techniques so that you can really create something which is bespoke using a variety of materials and techniques.
So your, let's say, any product which is designed, it's designed with by the interior designer, or it's something where you design and you provide to people, or
So yes, we have two services. One is where we say what we call a customization. So we've got a base item, and you can come in, and with the technology we've got, you can change the color of the top, you can change the color of the frame, and offer that to your client. Then the other service we have is what we call individualization, where the interior designer actually creates the product for their client or for a project. So you can utilize both of them at Ipse.
Hi, Sam. In thinking of the artisans and kind of the generational challenge that you mentioned earlier, are you seeing a shift in that at all? Do you feel like this facility has inspired younger generations to participate? Like, I feel like, you've kind of created this oasis in this cool facility, and what has been the response locally that you've seen?
Well, I'll actually pull up this slide. It's a very good question. So I'll talk about this particular craftsman who we have somewhere on the slide. So his name is actually this one. Yeah. So his name is actually Khalil Goblet. So he kind of goes around by the name Goblet, and because he's kind of been making silver goblets for the last 40 years. And he called me 2 months ago saying, "Hey, I believe I'm actually featured in your showroom in Singapore. Can you send a picture of me in the showroom so I can show my kids?" So quite interestingly, this is about 15 years ago, his kids did not want to join this trade because they said, it's not a very interesting trade. And they kind of, went into other things. Over the last 4 years, we've actually seen a major shift where a lot of younger makers are coming around because they feel that they are being recognized for their work, and they can actually buy back that creative dignity, which was sort of lacking for so long, for their skill sets. So yeah, I think having this ecosystem and actually having this state-of-the-art facility in India is also attracting a whole new generation of people who want to onboard because yeah, it's cool and they're part of a much bigger global play as opposed to just being a sweatshop somewhere in the unknown.
Kind of in line with that, thinking as a designer, I love the ecosystem idea, and I think, you know, having the craftsmen be able to take pride in their work and kind of see where it ends up in different parts of the world, that cycle and giving them that visibility, I don't know, I personally think that would be extra inspiring and just super honorable to see where it goes. So I love that aspect of what you do.
Thank you. All right, then I think we close off. Thank you very much for coming. Those who haven't seen our exhibit downstairs and our fellow exhibitors, please take some time and wander around the atrium. I'm sure there's some inspiration around for you to have. Okay. Thank you.